I was with a meeting with a friend the other day, and we happened to talk about work. Basically, how pointless it can be, how much time you're spending on working in comparison to what salary you get. And so, when we were making that conversation, basically the other person, my friend, actually asked, what's the point? Why try? Why care in the end? Not only for work in general, but for life in general, if it is supposed to be that way. And to that, I basically opened a conversation that I think impacted both of us a little bit more than I thought. I took that question a lot more seriously, and I tried to answer it as accurate as I possibly could. And the thing is that even though I'm saying all those stuff, the beauty in the question, what's the point in life? Why try? Why care? Basically, is not only is, in my opinion, an extremely valid question to ask someone, because I think anyone in their lifetime should be asking that themselves. It also has so much fluctuation. What I mean by this is just there's so much fluidity in the sense that there is no one definitive answer, and just it has to do with the one asking the question. Meaning, let's say for example that you want to eat some ice cream, and you have an entire store full of flavors for you to choose. Well, there is no right flavor. You get to choose what you want based on your preferences and taste. And so in that same exact way, essentially you could choose what is important and what isn't, what is meaningful and what isn't, based on your own preferences and critics. And the thing is that may as well change by the passing of time. For example, I may as well find one person A to be more important, and then, for example, I decide not to hang out as much with that person and hang out with the person B. And regardless, that may as well be one of the hardest questions to ask. What's the meaning in life? And not only is it an extremely difficult question, it's also extremely personal, meaning that I cannot say me for yourself, for example, that I get to know your meaning in life better than you and you better listen to me. That doesn't go that way. You have your own instincts, your own critics, and basically you can find an answer to yourself. That makes it both a blessing because you know the answer is yours, whatever you come up with, whenever you come up with it, and at the same time, it's a kind of a curse because you are completely alone in this, and many other people may as well try to answer that question themselves. So, anyways, based on the question, what's the meaning in life? Why care? I basically mentioned that same example with the ice cream taste and flavors that you get to decide for yourself based on your critics and your own taste. What you want in life, what's meaningful, what isn't, it's all on you. Alright? And after that, basically, I said that you can look at it in another way. That's another form that it gets both complicated and more flexible as an answer. What's the meaning in life? Someone may as well have meaning in their life based on what kind of connections they have here, in the sense of existence they have here today. Let me explain. We are humans, right? We are social creatures. We are designed for communication. We're designed for being together with other people, by making tribes, by making other teams, and sometimes we can have a common goal, a common theme when it comes to all those things. And so a person may as well feel delighted and complete when he or she feels they belong in a group of people that they are accepted from it. And so what's the point in all of this? Why would someone have meaning in their own life based on how he feels in another group? Is that group giving him some sense of meaning? Basically, they are approved by the group, therefore they feel satisfied and full. That could be the case, but it's just that how am I here, basically? and making this video, and I need oxygen to breathe, for example, and make breaths. And the same person cannot really be the outer space because there is no oxygen for me to breathe. Therefore, I'm only suitable to live here in these conditions, where there is earth beneath my feet, where there is oxygen, where there is water, there is food, and those things basically are part of the form and reason that I exist till today. So it has to do with a sense. It has to do with a sense of presence, and the sense of, someone could say, fulfilling your urges as a biological being. For example, when you get hungry, when you want to express yourself, when you want to hang out, when you want to find a partner for yourself, and so on. And so, what I want to say based on this is, well, most people who basically ask that question, what's the point in life? Why bother? Why live? Why continue living? Is, for the most part, I believe, is based on so much hardship, extremely difficult moments that can be considered to be impossible for the person for the time being, and everything basically crumbles. It falls apart. Their life, their own life. And when there's just nothing left, when there's just nothing left, that is basically where I have noticed, where most people ask the question, what's the meaning in life? What's the point? Why keep trying? Why, if it's so hard, so impossible almost, keep giving my best shot and best self? Well, that's another reason for someone to find the reason for existing in life in general. Because life can be extremely hard and cruel, and for someone who basically have experienced such difficult times, there are some glorified, beautiful, gorgeous moments where they're saying, I wouldn't trade those moments for anything, these experiences. And by extension, these moments by themselves are more than worthy to keep someone alive, and they can eventually repeat themselves again, in the sense of someone could be hopeful for those moments to repeat again. For example, bringing a life form to life, a cute little baby, or some pets, whatever, regardless. Or just realizing what there is, in the sense of you exist, your consciousness changed based off you accepting that, oh my god, I'm here, I'm alive, I exist. It's a miracle. And so, if people are in a way looped and trapped in a lifestyle that doesn't ever challenges their beliefs, or doesn't ever make them question what's the point of doing anything, if they're in a way satisfied, or in general never give them any way of thinking for themselves those stuff. Basically, people can be in a way satisfied with what we say today, a mediocre life. And so someone may as well live a mediocre life and have an extraordinary sense of being and self and presence. Meaning that a person who basically knows his worth, knows what he wants, what he doesn't want, and think for himself, basically maintain his own or her own values, thinking about themselves, maintain those values. This by itself, in a mediocre, let's say, way of living, can be extremely powerful for that person. It can be extremely beneficial for his health, for his happiness, for his overall being. And some other people that may as well live the exact same way of living essentially can help but think, how does he live such a satisfying way of living when he does similar or even same things or regular things to everybody else. Because that's the point. Many people may as well think that meaning is somewhere outwards, that you, yourself, have to go outside to the world and chase it down until you find it. When it's a form of, in a way, relationship that you have when it comes to whatever you choose is important. To the world, to your art, to your work, to your people. It's a form of a relationship in the end. And the thing is that everything that exists is a form of relationship. I cannot really exist here without the prerequisites that I mentioned earlier: food, water, oxygen, whatever. And so there is a kind of meaning, for example, for me to be here, existing exclusively here on this planet. And right after that, thinking that I cannot go to space and stay there the way I do here may as well by itself have a sense of meaning. And so meaningful can be something that may as well just exist the way it is, and you just acknowledged it. Rather than just saying that for everyone that exists, there's a mystical treasure in their life, and they have to go chase it out. They have to find out themselves and figure out. Otherwise, nothing can be revealed if they don't do that, right? And that sounds extremely cruel, in my opinion. Well, in today's day and age, is that where we need basically to have to chase things all the time and consume and go for the next new thing. When people were much more simpler in earlier ages, when they had their standard families, friends, parents, siblings, and life was much more calm and standard, much more healthy. And today seems to be the exact opposite. And because those fundamental things that defined humanity, I could say centuries ago, now we as young people, especially young people, I should say, have lost our sense of meaning, especially when things are now seem to go from worse to even worse, based on how the news are going up. But still, life is worth it at every moment if you realize that the point in life is to live. It can be simple as that, ridiculously simple as that. Or, if that sense does not satisfy you, if that terminology does not satisfy you, that's completely fine again. Because I cannot really tell you the reasons that you exist. You can say to yourself, however, that I was born to do that thing, for example. I get in such harmony, and time stops. It either stops or it goes extremely fast in a way that I do not understand that time even exists. I'm doing this activity, for example, playing basketball, me playing tennis, whatever. And this can make you forget that everything else exists, because at that moment, really, nothing else really exists. It's just you and that thing. And so, based on that, I would say that anyone can find their own meaning in life, so long as they decide to try their best in a way, but it's a way of being serious about if you believe that you know yourself, but at the same time be relaxed and cheerful and have fun, while also find ways to be more rich in your life, with your senses, with yourself, and with your presence. And so that can also be a way of living, having extreme saturated sides, where either there's so much pressure and pain in life that makes you take everything seriously and ask questions such as, what's the meaning in life? Well, it can also exist, there can also be moments that life is so wonderful, so beautiful, so simple. And life by itself, the beauty of life, the simplicity, the meaning of it is in the way that you are alive and you want to keep feeling alive. And so that is the beauty. And just try to answer to yourself what's the meaning in life. Because we only have many years in this life form, in a way. That we just were born, and eventually, after some time of living, we die. I guess that's the video for today. I really liked it. I hope you liked it as well. You may as well tell me what you think in the comments, and I'll see you next time. Thank you, and we may as well say another word another time. Goodbye and thank you.